Welcome into a Week 6 breakdown of the Green Bay Packers game against the Cincinnati Bengals. A 27-18 victory for the Packers here. A pretty good game defensively in the first half, but then things got a little bit conservative, so Bengals started to come back a little bit. But of course, they did cover the spread, more than 7.5 points. And it wasn't the blowout that Packers fans wanted, but it was an efficient game overall. So let's dive into the film, both offense and defense, and let's see what happened. All right, here we are on the first drive of the game. One of the rare deep shots and pure dropbacks from Jordan Love. Here, we'll just go back to the beginning. You've got this play design where you're essentially going to get a three-man route concept with an escort screen on the side. So you're going to have the screen here with a lead blocker. You're going to get the sail and then a deep route to clear out. And then on the backside, you'll get a basic, which will go over the middle of the field for a decent gain. I think LaFleur is testing the waters here a little bit. Can we get these deep drops? And they're able to get a nice play. But we notice the offensive line. We got Banks on TJ Slayton here, who's getting beat. And we usually know Slayton is more of a run stopper, but here he is getting speed around, forcing Jordan Love to step up in the pocket. And then Dobbs is finding that window for a nice gain on the very first play of the game. Something that I really liked from Love was more scrambles this week. Talked about it in my last video. Hey, he's got to run a little bit more. And in this situation, he does. But I think he misses Jacobs in this situation. All right, so we get the drop back. You get pressure from the edges, so he's going to step up. It's only a three-man rush. And you essentially have a spy here in the middle of the field. But if we look, he is well behind the line of scrimmage, right? Line of scrimmage is there roughly. Not a great line. But we've got Josh Jacobs down here in the bottom of the screen. This guy's getting attracted by the guy in the flat, right? So he's going to step up. So if Love is able to get his eyes up on Jacobs, that's going to be a much bigger gain. All right. He's able to get the first down, uses his legs, which is what I've been asking to do, so I'm not going to give him a negative grade on that, but that had potential to be an even bigger play if he finds Jacobs, because then Jacobs has one guy to beat, right? He's going to catch that, probably turn to the outside, maybe stiff arm him. That could potentially be a touchdown for the Packers on the opening drive. Here we go. We've got another scramble. This time it is a good choice to scramble. There's nobody open. And we'll essentially look at what this concept is. There's a snag concept on the top. All right, snag concept, you're going to get a spot. He's going to curl out. You've got a flat, and then you've got a deep corner. And then you're going to have a bow on the backside. So everything is flowing to the left. Here you're going to get a chip, and he's just going to sit down on an arrow. But we've got, he looks at the flat. He doesn't like it. He's reading this defender, so he's going to get his eyes more towards the middle of the field. And he's going to see that, hey, we got some defenders here. There's really nothing there. So his next option would be the check down, which is a little bit delayed. And instead, he's going to see all this grass on this side of the field. All right, so he's just going to tuck it and run it, which ends up being the right decision. Receivers do a good job of getting into the scramble drill, but a nice 7-yard gain for the Packers there. The next one gets a little bit messy. This is the interception by Jordan Love. And we get a mess up front, and then a really bad decision by Jordan Love. We'll go back to the beginning. We'll look at the offensive line first. And of course, we got a three-man down front. So you've got potential rushers on the edge, right? And you also have to account for the mic if he shows, right? So you're going to get essentially a cross here. And Jenkins is put in a bind, right? So I'm not sure what their protection call was, right? But you've got both guards in a double team here. And normally, depending on what the protection is, right, their eyes are going to be up, reading for any backers that are blitzing. So Jenkins is going to have to pass him off on the inside and then try to pick up this backer. But Banks is already engaged in this block. His eyes are in the chest. That's usually not what you want. If you're in a double team, you want to keep yourself square, keep your eyes on the linebackers, and instead they're going to get pressure, which is really unfortunate. Obviously, we got that throw. We'll see it from the end zone angle as well. It's unfortunate that that pressure gets there because this safety is moving downhill that way. You've got Tucker Kraft one-on-one, and if he just rips it here, I think if he doesn't take this little hop step, and he just puts some air on that up to the back pylon, Tucker Kraft is going to run underneath that, and that's going to be a touchdown. All right, but he's not going to settle. And I really think he probably has the time here. I think he panics. I think if he just stands in there and delivers it, which it looks like he's getting ready to because he's patted the ball. Normally that's the cue that he's going to be throwing it. And instead of throwing it away, throws it behind Dobbs, and it gets picked. And we'll just watch it from the end zone angle now. Panicking. Just throwing it away. I don't think he saw the defender trailing Dobbs here. Instead, gets tipped up. Number 22 gets that easy pick for a turnover on that first possession. And defensively, there was a lot of good team defense. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the technique, but there was very, very good pursuit and team defense all throughout this first half. I'm not going to have a whole lot of plays. We'll more look at the second half. But this is just Bullard getting off that block, keeping that outside contained. He's got his arm in the chest. He's holding outside. So it's going to force Chase to get further and further wide on the field. And then he's going to get that shed and a nice wrap up for a TFL. So really nice job by Bullard. He's been continuing to improve in the slot, but we'll see how he holds up later in the season. Next play, I think it was pretty clear that LaFleur's plan was get the quick game going, get the ball in the hands of the receivers, and let them make plays. And Golden was the target for a lot of this. And here you just have a simple stick concept. All right, let's just get the ball out fast. You got the defense. They're playing pretty soft, right? They're 7 yards deep. So let's just run the quick stick. Boom, 5 yards, get the flat. And he's just going to catch it and turn inside and get a bunch of extra yards. All right, and Golden does really good here. Comes back the ball slightly, makes a guy miss. You get blocks downfield from Heath for a nice explosive gain. And that's just something that I noticed throughout this game plan. Lots of checkdowns, lots of short, quick passes just to get some easy yards and move the ball downfield. Next play, this is on Jordan Love. I think this is an RPO. I'm not sure 100% because I'm not in the huddle. I don't hear their calls. But this just seems like it was a pre-snap read, and I think he made a mistake. All right, so for reading, I think this is supposed to be some sort of duo concept. We got two high safeties. It is 2nd and 7. I think you just turn around and hand this off to Jacobs on this side because we end up getting a very nice seal. Obviously, the backers, we're going to see them flow towards the screen. So I think they get picked up in double teams. But let's take a look. Here we look at the count. He's looking at the depth of these players. This inside player was showing blitz earlier. So I think that's why Love wanted to quick get this out, because if he actually sends it, if he actually blitzes, then we got 2-on-1. One guy's going to get the ball. You just have to block him. You're going to get an easy gain. All right, but he doesn't end up blitzing. All right, so now you've just got two guys coming downhill ready to tackle the receiver. And I think if you've got this too high shell, you've got 3 down linemen against your 6 up front, and you work the double teams and get to the backers, that's going to be an even better game than what this RPO is going to be. Right? And if we look at the movement here, this is going to be a nice cutback lane off the back of Kraft. So he's going to get at least 5 yards before he's getting contacted by this backer. Early on the game, the Packers obviously running a ton of zone. They're a big cover 3 team, and you're going to get the same thing here, right? You got your deep thirds all here. You're going to have your flat defender, some hook zones, and this is just going to be Flacco doing a stick concept, just like the Packers, right? They're going to put one guy out to the flat, one guy on that stick. They're going to be reading Bullard here, and Bullard turns his hips. He gets outside right away, right? So you've got the running or chase in motion coming into the flat, but it is that stick concept. You got that hook. You've got a clear defender who's going to take the linebacker up a little bit, and Quay is going to slip, who's not able to make a play there, and Bengals get an easy first down. Here we're going to focus on Carl Brooks, and I think he does a really good job of sniffing out these screens. He shut it down early on a couple of the screens. This is the first one they tried. Obviously, Flacco's just going to throw that into the dirt, but he's going to recognize that screen early. So that's one of the things that Brooks does very well. He struggles in other areas, but here he is recognizing that offensive lineman wants to get rid of him, and he's just going to follow Brown, and that's going to have Flacco put that into the dirt. So Brooks, I think, was the third lowest rating in terms of PFF, around a 50 or so. So not really a great game overall, but this is one area that he does do well in. I was really thinking that the Packers would get pressure like this more often, and it really just wasn't the case. In the first half, yes, they were getting some decent pressure, but here you've got a nice, unique play. You've got two wide defenders, right? They're going to try to collapse the pocket from the outside. Then you're going to run a twist on the inside with Micah Parsons, and you're going to get three guys to the quarterback in this situation, right? So 3rd and 10, we know it's a passing situation, and then you got Gary and LVN meeting the quarterback at the same time. Parsons there as well. So good pursuit, getting a quarterback hit, making Flacco regret having to play the Packers defense again. Here we're going to focus on Tom and Morgan. I think Tom was expecting a little bit more help from Morgan here. Again, I don't know what the protection is, but here I was getting frustrated during the game. Like, hey, we got another throw that's behind the line of scrimmage. Let's try to work it downfield. But this time Tom just gets beat. You can see him fall over, right? So I think Tom was expecting, based on his leverage, he's got half the man here, right? He's on his outside shoulder. He sees that Morgan is here, and with the anticipation, oh, he's going to go inside, I'm going to have help. All right, so I don't think Tom expects this rip move to the inside. He loses his balance, falls face first. That pressure hits Love. I think if that pressure doesn't happen, he's got timing on Golden, breaking open right here. And unfortunately, he gets rolled out to the right. He's going to throw it. I think it's probably better if he just throws it over the head instead of losing 4 yards on 3rd down. And we'll watch this from the end zone angle, obviously on the right side, just to get a better look at the offensive line. Tom sets. He's expecting to still have that help on the inside, right? Because everything looks handled by the center. So I don't know why Morgan is leaving that block, leaving Tom one-on-one, when it looks like Jenkins is fine. He's solid in that pass pro. And instead, Tom gets hung out to dry. Next play, I'm not really going to break anything down. I'm just confused. This is 1st and 10. This is right after Wicks had that catch at the sticks. It was 3rd and 6. Wicks catches it, gets the first down, but then they go hurry up. And I'm really confused as to why they do that, and we don't actually get a good push here. I think it's hard for the offensive line to anticipate where these guys are going to be rushing from, right? So that messes up Walker a little bit, so he's slow, and maybe this was a miscommunication, or Walker heard the wrong play. Maybe he thought it was a pass, and instead, he's going to take no reach step. He's not going to drive. Instead, he just gets him off to the outside, right? So I think this might have been a miscommunication, but by going hurry up, instead of just waiting for the review, I know they didn't want a challenge, but if Wicks is ruled short, it's 4th and inches. And you have been pretty successful lately with just quarterback sneaking for a couple inches. So even if you're short, you can just go for it in that situation and guarantee a first down. But instead, you go hurry up, there's a miscommunication, and you waste a first down, right? Goes to 2nd and 10, and now you're playing from a little bit longer yardage than you would have otherwise. All right, here we go. We've got a really bad miss by Jordan Love. This is stands in the pocket, takes a little bit of a hit, but he sails this one big time. And if we just look, we're going to follow Musgrave here. He's going to end up coming in motion across the formation. He's going up here. He's going to outside. He's going to widen, and then he's going to break across the middle of the field. You have a clear on a deep post, and you've got another crosser from Kraft, right? So you're trying to stress the outside defender, right? You're going to stress his outside leverage, try to get him to push outside a little bit, and then you break across his face. And that's essentially what Musgrave is going to do here. You get a nice pocket that he can step up in. Tom trying to push him deeper, right? But this timing throw, he's able to step up in the pocket, get that ball out, but he sails it about 3 or 4 yards over the head of Musgrave, right? And he looks confused. He's got his arms up like, I thought that was going to someone else, but I guess it was for me. So he's got that really bad miss, and then he's going to follow it up with an insane throw, which is just kind of the epitome of Jordan Love. And here's that insane throw. We're going to have Golden here at the bottom part of the screen. Got an empty. Little chip protection. You're just going to take that one-on-one shot. Got man coverage. And that is just a crazy throw. So inaccurate on the last play. Now he's in rhythm. Golden does a good job here of late hands, right? Not showing. He's keeping those arms close to the body. Doesn't show anything to the DB. Hauls it in for a really nice catch. So really good game there for Golden. Here we've got the first of 2 touchdowns for Josh Jacobs. In motion. This is pretty good design in general. You're just going to be moving around this backer, and we'll see this motion. All right, so he's going to have to move out, and he's going to have to move back in. He's going to overset a little bit further than this, right? So he's going to actually move further inside, and that's going to make a double team a lot easier. So you're going to get a combo block here on an inside zone, and then that's going to make it easier for Jenkins to reach up to the linebacker. So this is a really good job moving Jacobs out. Backer's got a slide. He gets a little bit further inside, and now we can see that combo taking place, right? Got this combo block, and now because he's further inside, that double team is going to be a lot easier, and it's going to make the read a lot more clear, right? Now that backer has to try to fill that gap that's forming, so he goes outside, and Jenkins just has to knock him, and that's going to be a wide open lane for an easy touchdown. So I like that use of motion there by LaFleur for that first rushing touchdown. Here we're going to focus a little bit on the pass rush first. All right, we got a 4-man rush that's happening here. And then we'll also look at Edgerrin Cooper. So get a decent pass rush here. You've got some sort of gap scheme, play action, protect, where you're going to get this guard that moves out, and he's going to take the outside rusher. So you're going to see that there, but he doesn't get there fast enough, so that's going to put pressure on Flacco, who's just got to check it down. Then you've got Edgerrin Cooper. As soon as he realizes that ball is going in the air, right, he's just in his zone, right? He's at about 2 or 3 yard mark. As soon as that ball gets thrown, he's coming downhill, and he's going to make a play for a tackle for loss. So just really good job by Cooper. One of the things I love about him is his motor. He's always moving, always making plays, always going towards the ball, and we see that there. Next, you're going to have a really, really good throw by Jordan Love. You got the play action fake against traditional cover 2, not a Tampa 2, but nice little route here. You essentially have an Aggie call on the outside from a condensed formation, so you're going to get somewhat of a wheel just to spread vertical on the outside, and then you're going to get a bender, a seam on the inside, just to... You're stressing this high safety, right? So you're going to have those two stressing that high safety. Then you need to stress these backers in order to get that nice level 2 ball over the center. You're going to have the fake, right? Forces them to step up a little bit. And then the curl, right? Just the through route, sit down, and that's going to keep them occupied a little bit. And this is just a really good ball by Jordan Love. All right, and we'll see that more from the end zone angle. Nice diving catch from Tucker Kraft as well. Here he is, little bender on the seam, and that is a very good ball by Jordan Love. splits the backers, splits the safeties, and a nice diving catch by Kraft. I want to take a look at this part of the screen. This is a 3rd and 5, and Dobbs gets broken up here. He doesn't really come back to the ball as much as you would like. A little bit handsy from DJ Turner. He gets his hands around the waist, but the refs aren't necessarily going to call that. But of course, I want to take a look at Kraft, and we'll see that from the end zone angle a lot better. Here we've got a wide technique by the defensive end. So Kraft, he's going to be able to chip here and help Tom. So Tom's going to set vertically and make sure that he can recuperate Henderson, but instead Kraft just puts him in the dirt. Boom, in the ground. And while you love to see it, because he lays this hit and he's on the ground, he's not going to be the outlet early enough. And I think when we go back and we see, obviously Love isn't even looking in that direction yet, so I think he takes that shot regardless to Romeo Dobbs. But if we look at the room that is there in the flat, right, if he just chips him, lets him get inside, and then he goes into that flat, he's forcing this hook defender to kind of go out. There's a lot of room there, right? And Kraft probably catches it here in the flat on a check down and gets a first down on a 3rd down. But, you know, it is what it is, and that is a heck of a chip block by Tucker Kraft. And before half, the Bengals obviously trying to get out of their own end zone, have a really good play call here. They know you got a minute left. You got to try to drive down and score. So, of course, you're going to get some garbage yards here, but this is a really good idea because we know that Micah Parsons loves to get upfield. He loves to rush the passer. So they're going to let him do that. He's just going to get upfield and then get pinned, right? So they're going to pin him inside. They're going to pull and get a nice lead toss here on the outside. So you can see, boom, just get Parsons upfield, push him out of the way. He's not going to be an issue. And now you're going to get numbers in the run game. So you're going to have a puller here on Bullard. You've got receiver cracking down on the backer. Going to wrap around and get another blocker downfield. So you get a nice explosive run. So that's good play design there by the Bengals. Obviously, giving up a lot there. Not trying to give up a big passing play in that situation. So, of course, a little explosive run is going to happen. I will focus at the top of the screen. Got a one-on-one matchup. Still zone coverage in this situation. But Hobbs is going to lose this right away just because of the way he turns. Right, there's just no way that you can defend this. And this is just pure timing. I think that Flacco only spent time after practice with Jamar Chase because you got a Hobbs already turning his hips facing this direction. If he's got to turn, he's got to either speed turn or he's got to flip his hips and get back. And that is just not going to happen. All right, so just really good timing. Ball is out at the break. And Chase at the sticks. So pretty easy for Flacco as a quarterback. Hey, we got a deep out. We're trying to get to 12 yards. Just throw it 2 yards beyond the sticks. That's your mark, right? You don't even have to worry about timing with the receiver. You just know as soon as he's out of his break, you've got to aim towards those sticks and you're fine. I'm not too sure why Hafley is playing quarters in this situation in the red zone. I don't think the Packers do it very well, and we'll see it on this play. You've got 4 deep defenders. You got 2nd and 10. I'm just not too sure that quarters is the right call. Right? You're looking at this shell over the top. You got 4 deep defenders, right? They're usually all reading the number 2 receiver, right? And reacting off that. But you're going to get him pushing the depth, and he's going to cut in front of McKinney. And this is just perfect timing, right? And so there's no way that Hobbs is going to be able to match and make that play. And then you got McKinney, who's a little bit late. I think he's dropping maybe a little bit too deep there in this situation. He is going to make the tackle. They're going to be short, but of course, they do end up scoring on this possession. All right, next we'll look at LVN. I think this is his best pass rush of the year. Let him just get off. He might have been a little bit early. Actually, no, he's right at the snap, which is perfect timing. He's got a faster get off than Micah Parsons, and he's just going to get to the quarterback so quick bends around, and Flacco has no chance. And that's the sack of the day for the Packers. So LVN does a nice job there. Flacco had no chance to check it down. And we'll watch it from the end zone angle as well. I think it's a very unorthodox stance from Orlando Brown. Not really sure that would be my stance if I was a left tackle, but he doesn't get far enough out on his first step. He reaches with both hands, not really a good sign. Misses that stick, and LVN comes down with the sack. Then you've got a 4th and 2, and here you got Quay Walker in coverage. He's just going to get beat, right? He's obviously playing contact. He's trying to chuck this defender, which he does have the right to do because in the end zone, right, they're starting on the 2-yard line. It's 4th and 2. So you should be able to put your hands on them and chuck them a little bit. I think he could have done a better job and try to chuck him more vertical, right? Because if you chuck him more vertical and he steps on the white, he's now an ineligible receiver. But instead, he's just going to wrap around for an easy touchdown. So Quay, still one of the things that he really needs to work on is his coverage. And here, there's not much that he can do other than try to chuck him a little bit more, which creates more space, right? And allows him not to wrap so tightly around him to create a little bit of separation. But Flacco with good timing on the back line of the end zone for a touchdown. And here we have Josh Jacobs' second touchdown of the game. Scoreboard kind of ruins it. But again, just a really nice run. Good blocks downfield by the receivers. We'll focus on the receivers here. Just this wide angle's a lot better. Here we've got a duo concept, which will be easier to see once we go to the end zone angle. But NFL teams do not block corners on the outside, especially on inside runs. So here, you're going to attack these safeties. So you've got that third level that's going to be taken care of by the receivers. And a duo concept, you're going to get double teams, as many as you can, up on the front, right? And then you're going to work to the backers off of those double teams. So you're just going to get a nice little lane down the middle for an easy touchdown. That's just good work by the Packers overall. They really love this duo concept, all right? And we'll see it here. You're going to get a double team here, a double team here. And usually what you're doing is you're taking half a man and your eyes are going to be on the backer. If the backer goes inside, that's a me, I'm going to take him. If that backer goes to the outside, and that's a me, I'm going to take him. And you're working up vertically to the second level. So here we get the double team, and we can see Jenkins just does a good job. That backer flows here, and he's going to seal him perfectly. And we can see that double team here. Tom is going to take 92, and 44 flowed to the outside. So now Morgan's going to get that seal. And then you've got Dobbs coming in to take on one of the safeties. Heath is a little bit slow, but Jacobs just does a good job of driving through. And that is a lovely executed duo concept by the Packers. Later in the game, the Packers go to a split field type coverage, right? They realize, hey, they're probably going to start feeding Ja'Marr Chase, right? They need some big plays. So we're going to go at lock here, where Nixon's going to be a man. You're going to have a bracket. We're going to have help over the top, right? And there's just nothing that you can do with some of these plays. Nixon playing man there, and that ball thrown back shoulder. Ja'Marr Chase has no sign that he's going up for a catch other than him slowing down. And that is just perfectly placed right behind the shoulder pad of Nixon. And Ja'Marr Chase made some incredible plays in this game. And there's really nothing that Nixon could do. All right, Nixon was doing his best, getting a lot of penalties as well, right? Illegal contact, pass interference. But he's just fighting with the best receiver in the league at the moment. And we'll just watch this from the end zone angle because this is just a great throw. Right, back shoulder. There's no indication that Nixon can watch in order to react and break that up. So, while people might be frustrated with him, there's literally nothing he can do in that situation. And here, I'm going to focus on McKinney. I feel like he didn't really have the greatest game. I think it was a pretty average game, but I think he gets way too much depth in this situation. And Higgins is just going to find that soft spot in the zone, right? So he's just going to sit here and turn. He's going to find grass. You've got to make that decision if you're Hobbs. Hey, am I going to leave T. Higgins open, or am I going to leave Jamar Chase in the flat? Right? He naturally is going to take the flat defender, thinking that the hook is going to slide over and recuperate Higgins. But you also have this vertical defender who's now, what is that? 10, 15 yards away from Higgins. So he's just going to find that soft spot in the zone, able to get a first down. But luckily, there's only a field goal that is given up on this drive. And here we are in the red zone with a touchdown that gets scored. This is Tucker Kraft's touchdown. And you're going to see a short motion, which is essentially a sign that, hey, we're going to run some form of duo. All right, we're going to bring this receiver in. We're going to try to get double teams up on the front. They scored on a duo earlier, but of course, this is just going to be that play action insert. So you're going to insert. We saw this a little bit earlier this year, right? Kind of a sail route, and then a quick release to the flat off the play action. 29 is going to have to take Savion Williams, which leaves the backer one-on-one with the flat, and Kraft is just going to take it and then dive from the 4-yard line into the end zone. A really nice play there. So you can see that chip, all right, acting as if, hey, this is a real play action. Buys just enough time. They're able to dive into the end zone for a Packers touchdown. We got 2 more plays that we'll look at. This is just a great catch by Jamar Chase. All right, he's got Nixon draped all over him. And McKinney is just a little bit too slow there. He's trying to break on it, right? He's responsible in the middle of the field. Joe's doing a good job of keeping his eyes straight. So McKinney has to respect it. And instead, as soon as he sees him cock, he's going to fire across and try to make a play, but he's just going to be too late. And there's just nothing that Nixon can do here. He's wrapped around him. And Jamar Chase just makes an incredible play there for a touchdown. And then we'll end on one last play from the offense. This is just a really good job by Love. Really nice throw. Golden with a really good adjustment here. And a big completion late in the game that's going to set them up for a field goal to put this game out of reach. Right? The first thing that we've got is a bunch formation. Right? So their rules are going to be a little bit different. Right? You're going to press the point man. You're going to play inside. He's going to play outside. But you have this little shift. He's going to move outside. That is going to change these rules a little bit. So now you're just going to be in man. And that's going to be a problem. Right? So you can see the communication issue. Right? He's slid over. He's asking, hey, I'm going to need some help if he goes inside. Right? He's pointing. He's going to be in man. And that's exactly what happens. You get this crossing route. That safety is ready. Right? He's taking it high, but Golden sees that he's scrambling, so he's going to be friendly to the quarterback. He's going to come downhill. Not that much, but he's going to flatten, and he's going to be ready for that ball. And Jordan Love makes a heck of a throw with pressure in his face. Golden with that great adjustment, helping his quarterback for a big gain that will set up a field goal to put this game out of reach. So here we are again. All right, Love rolling out. Really nice throw. Pressure in his face, fading away. That's where he's comfortable. Nice catch by Golden down to the 29. So excellent job there by the Packers. And that'll do it for this video. Packers overall, 400 yards of offense, only 2 touchdowns given up, both in the second half. It's not that impressive of a win when you consider the Bengals are running with a 40-year-old quarterback who just got there. You would have liked to see more of a blowout, but you'll take these wins. Right? All these wins are gonna help towards the end of the year. And even though it's not the performance that Packers fans wanted, it was a very efficient performance. Outside of the one turnover, right? If that interception doesn't happen and they put points up on the board, things are going to be different. So I think the Packers are going to be just fine. They take on the Cardinals next week. And we don't know if Kyler Murray is going to suit up for the Cardinals, but look forward to that one. And I'll have another breakdown for you guys next week. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.